Hi everyone, welcome back to AFTV. We've got a really special show today because I'm here with Duncan Alexander. You might recognise Duncan Alexander for his work on stats and stuff he's doing on Twitter and The Analyst. You're going to talk us all through all that. But how are you, Duncan?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's funny actually, I followed your account because I always loved the stats. Because you put out stats, you put out kind of quirkier stats sometimes as well, sort of the things probably people aren't looking for. But you know what? Good to see it when you do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think, they're like the offcuts that I serve up. But yeah, I've always kind of liked a slightly more offbeat look at football. But but obviously the day job is crunching the normal numbers.
The normal numbers, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, stats are becoming more and more, do I say the norm? I mean, I see people now on Twitter, online or wherever it is, always debating, well, the numbers say this, and was Drogba a great player? Well, his numbers, he was a great player.
Yeah.
I know this comes from an Arsenal fan. But before we go into all that, because the one thing we want to talk today is Arsenal have had an upturn in form. It has coincided with the introduction of signings and a perhaps new approach from Arteta and Adu. We'll go into all that, but just tell us a little bit about what you do, how you got into all this, and your kind of your thoughts in terms of Arsenal and the Premier League and all that. Yeah, chat to us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've been in the sort of data industry for a couple of decades now. So I was there at the start when it was pretty behind the scenes. We'd work with some clubs, Arsenal being one of the kind of early adopters, I think, along with Chelsea and Man City. So it sort of works out in the end, doesn't it?
There you go, yeah.
But also, we work with broadcasters and the media and stuff like that. But it was me and a couple of colleagues set up Opta Joe in 2009.
Yeah. Social
media in its infancy and all that. And I think that was a really important moment because we were able to kind of converse with fans for the first time. And obviously, what you guys do is that, in some ways, the next step from that, the idea, you went back 30 years and the idea you could kind of directly message your favourite players, or you could have TV channels that are basically run by fans for the fans, would have been insane. That was the era of, me annoying my mum by wasting BT phone cards or ringing up the Wycombe Wanderers information line at 39p a minute, whatever it was. So that I think the kind of democratisation of information has been really important. Like whoever you support now, you can pretty much get as much information as you want on your team, which really wasn't the case for most of football.
It's very true. If I type Arsenal stats, and you keep it as vague as that, I mean, the amount of pages that come up now, and the detail they go into, it has changed massively. When did you notice that stats was more and more becoming, is at the forefront of people's minds now when sort of talking about football?
Yeah, I think you had a couple of key moments. You had sort of the Pep Guardiola Barcelona era, where possession became this weird thing where you'd get pundits say, well, look, this team had 70% possession and lost. I mean, Arsenal did that a few times.
Yeah, Arsenal were key for that. 30 shots, 78% possession, 1-0 to Burnley.
Yeah, but it was the idea that some people seem to think that people thought that having possession meant you won games, but it's not. It's not like a nectar cover. You can convert possession to goals. It was always going to be. It's a style of play. You can win games without having much of the ball or vice versa. So that was the first thing where people kind of realised they were coming into the game. I think the next big jump was 2017 when we pushed out expected goals to the media. And because of the relationships we had with people like Match of the Day, they were happy to put that straight on the TV. And
they were one of the first I saw using it. Match of the Day. Is that right?
We launched it in sort of summer 2017.
Okay.
When within clubs it had been used for about most of that decade, but the media hadn't really used it much. I sat on TweetDeck that night on Match of the Day, and a lot of people were not that keen. But what you need is stories, right? That's how metrics cut through to the public, and Arsenal served up the best story for that season, which was the home defeat to United, when obviously you absolutely battered United.
Yes, I remember De Gea,
14 saves, and
one of the best goalkeeping performances I've ever seen.
Incredible. But it was almost like Arsenal fans were kind of leaving that game going, "Wow, that's the most unlucky I've ever seen." And it was almost like if only there was a metric that could kind of quantify how unlucky Arsenal had been in that match, or how lucky United had been. And lo and behold, once you got these stories, people kind of realise what it is.
And I think I remember watching the fan cams from that day, because I was so infuriated. I actually couldn't even blame Wenger or the team or anything. And I remember fan cams that day, and people started mentioning XG to say, do not tell me United deserved anything from that. But you're absolutely right. I remember that clearly. You've touched on Arsenal. Let's have a little look at Arsenal, because It's been topsy-turvy to say the least under Mikel Arteta. We've heard the words process, project, kind of, it takes time, there's going to be bumps in the road. I think we've had our fair few. Dare Arsenal fans say that we're starting to see what this project is, what this process is? And I think the real almost line in the sand is the transfer window. It's a lot of the players we brought in and some of the moments, ending the North London derby with all 6 signings on the pitch. Things like this have been really key to convincing fans that actually we are going in the right direction. How have you seen it from you're an Arsenal fan, are you?
No, my son is, bizarrely.
Is he? Okay.
He chose to start supporting Arsenal in possibly their lowest point.
That's a loyal fan.
Yeah, I said to him when he was young enough, I was like, still young enough to change. He was like, no, so fair play. So I do.
You tried, it might not get better for you. Yeah,
I do keep an eye on Arsenal from his point of view quite closely. So it's been interesting. I tweeted a few weeks ago that like a good box set. It takes a while before you realise maybe this is a classic series, and maybe it's taken sort of 9 or 10 weeks to realise that maybe Arsenal won the transfer window. I think, which is interesting because obviously at the time,
I like it though.
You had. You can find tweets easily, people saying, Arsenal paid more for Aaron Ramsdale than Man United did for Cristiano Ronaldo. So, well, how's that working out?
It's a very good point.
And I think Arsenal very much did a transfer window of kind of, planned, systematic progression rather than like, we can get him and all that money. And I think that sort of suits the character of Arteta, I think. He's not a sort of passionate, on the sideline Klopp style figure, but he's a man that is incredibly, plan stuff, and
he's very meticulous. Isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
It's very everything, for rightly or wrongly, every move there's a reason behind it for sure.
Yeah, and he's also very steely and confident in that he's right, and even when it seemed like maybe he wasn't. So I do feel fairly confident that this is a progressive season for us. Obviously, historically, August, September and October are your best 3 months.
Yes, we tend to be pretty decent in those.
And November, December, and so I think the next few weeks are important, and obviously the next fixture is a particularly tough one, but quite pivotal, I think, at the same time, because Liverpool have been the best team going forward in the Premier League this season. Yeah,
you see that in their goals and Mo Salah and all that, and I agree it's going to be a massive test.
But at the back, they're not very good.
At the back, not very good. Arsenal have been improving massively defensively. Going forward, I still think there's elements of our play that feel a little like we're going through the motions at times, or does it feel as instinctive as it should be? And I remember the Wenger days where it was just, especially when we weren't winning trophies. Some of the football we played was still unbelievable. I think when I look at Arsenal, you're right, there was this big summer of 6 signings coming in, all between the ages of 21, 23. So it's clearly a plan. You felt that there was maybe the building of a core there with Ramsdale, White and Lokonga. But, you're kind of wondering, well, White for 50 million, is Ramsdale a backup? Is Lokonga a mid, is he going to play instead of Xhaka and all that? But you're right, it has started to come together. What do you kind of... Is it the signings just being upgrades on what we had before? Is it as simple as that? It's probably not. There's a lot to it.
Kind of. I think, we're seeing in modern football now that managers are so wedded to their particular style, and it's not just a style of play anymore. It's almost like the NFL. It's like a series of moves. You watch Man City, they know exactly where each player is going to be as they're rotating around because they practice it all the time.
It's true.
You see certain other Premier League clubs, maybe also based in Manchester, that maybe aren't at that same level because they're not. They're more like, let's go out there and see what we can do, lads, sort of thing. I think Arsenal very much obviously Arteta coming out of that Guardiola school, if you like. It's just he's further back, probably not got as high quality players, and he's further back in his development as a coach. But I think we are seeing progress. And Guardiola's he's no mug. He's not just going to sort of say Arteta's good because he worked with him. He clearly has got that ability.
Or have him as his assistant coach.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So I think, in terms of Ramsdale particularly, I think his distribution, obviously the saves like the one at Leicester that everyone talked about, and he has saved a lot of goals above the XG model this season. But that distribution he does, he's not doing anything wildly different to what Leno did, but he's just doing it a little bit more kind of aggressively, if you like.
So that's very interesting. What do you mean by that? He's not doing... Because I imagine a lot of what they do on the ball, goalkeepers, it's instructed by Arteta in the coaching, but Leno would have been perhaps attempting to do a similar thing? Why are we noticing Ramsdale's distribution as, well, people are calling it Edison-like?
Well, it sounds ridiculously simple, but the way he can hit the ball, he kind of cuts it, and it goes a lot quicker. And I think if you look at Alisson, you look at Edison, you look at even Raya at Brentford, they can all do that. And it's like, you know, it's not just launching the ball upfield. I think Leno's a bit like someone like David De Gea, who just gets it kind of up there.
Sure.
But Ramsdale is kind of pinging it, if you like, and it does make a little difference because basically attacks now are defined in seconds. You know, like a good counter-attack could be like 7-8 seconds from one end of the pitch to the other, and if the ball if everyone's waiting for it to come down, it does make a bit of a difference.
Well, and it's something we've noticed in Ramsdale is the way we know Saka's not as tall as his fullback, so we're going to give it into his feet. And you think the pass isn't on. Oh my God, it is on. He's just made it, and that's been a big thing with Ramsdale. And this is really a statistical thing, but also he seems very vocal. He seems a commanding figure.
I think this is the thing as well, is that, and maybe I think a lot of people didn't realise, Arsenal fans maybe others as well, that, you know, Ramsdale has been player of the season at AFC Wimbledon, then the following year at Bournemouth, and the following year at Sheffield United. All those teams either battled or succumbed to relegation. That everyone kind of knew that. But you don't just get player of the year because you're a goalkeeper. No one gets player of the year because they felt sorry for you. Ramsdale's had to make loads of saves, and you know,
it's so true.
At each of those clubs, I remember a friend of mine's a Wimbledon fan. He's like Ramsdale is just, everyone plays better because of him, and pretty much every club he's been at, everyone's gone. It's one of those inspirational figures, and I don't think you can kind of plan for this sometimes. It's a bit like when Salah went to Liverpool. You know, suddenly it was like no one kind of thought he was going to be that good, but he kind of made everyone else better around him. I think you see the way some Arsenal defenders are now at defending set pieces. They're kind of terrified of Ramsdale shouting at them or pushing, you know, and it's that kind of character almost that really can nudge a team from a sort of 7 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10, and that makes a big difference.
Well, absolutely, especially with focus. I mean, you now know you can't have a 2-minute lull in the game because the quality in the Premier League, you will get punished for it. And, you know, 3-0 up against Villa, 3-0 up against Spurs, but they both found a goal back because there were moments where Arsenal weren't at it. And you see Ramsdale's not happy. You know, he should have had 2 clean sheets in those games, and they add up. Let's talk about Benjamin White, sorry. I need to get used to saying that because he prefers Benjamin. Benjamin White, because when he came in, there was a big old hoo-ha because Arsenal fans were saying, well, you got David Luiz there, who actually played really well last season, so maybe we should have given him a new deal. Rob Holding's not quite at it, but Arteta's liked him a lot. Saliba's the next big thing, 27 million, but he doesn't seem to get a look in because he's going out on loan. That might prove to be the right thing, to be fair. And then Ben White comes in for 50 million, went to the Euros, didn't play. Bad start against Ivan Toney and Brentford, and now we're seeing this kind of almost like the perfect modern centre-back at times. Yeah,
I think for me it's a two-pronged thing where it's not just him coming in, and you look at his numbers and he plays very differently to, say, Holding from last year. You know, massively. Progressive carries. He's almost like a Joel Matip at Liverpool, say, where one of his main roles is to kind of bring the ball out and become an additional midfielder, which really, you know, that's the thing. That there's no people who talk about formations now. Teams will play 3 or 4 different formations in the same game, so it's all about, you know, in and out possession, all that stuff. So I think he's very good at that. Obviously, as we know, and we saw against Brentford, he's not your classic Terry Butcher style winning. So I think Tomiyasu at right back, really important. He's now got. He's so good in the air. He's unbelievable. Winning more aerials per 90 than any other Arsenal defender in the last 2 seasons.
Oh my God! I mean, guys, that's a stat for you. That is a stat for you.
Which, if you watch that, you kind of need that, because if it's going over Ben White's head, and also Arsenal, some teams, say Chelsea, have realised that they've got, you know, Chilwell and James, both brilliant attacking fullbacks, but you can't really have 2 attacking fullbacks now, in some senses, unless you're Liverpool, which just have kind of given up on Trent ever defending.
But even Trent comes into midfield more now.
Well, exactly. So, same with Cancelo at City. So, you know, Arsenal have that bit with Tierney as the sort of, but you kind of need almost like a sort of proper old school fullback defender, and that's the role he's doing. So I think that's what I mean about Arsenal winning the transfer window, is that like all the signings seem to kind of knit together really well, which isn't always the case. You know, we've seen like Tottenham after they sold Gareth Bale, or Liverpool when they signed Downing and Charlie Adam, because they both had good chance created, forgetting the fact that they both took corners the previous season.
There you go. That's very true. That's very true.
So yeah, it's kind of, obviously the trust the process is a bit of a ongoing sort of meme, but it really feels like there was some process and it has been adhered to, so that's good.
Well, I think the debate's now moved on. Whether you think, people can't say there's no process, there's no plan. There is a plan. I think now the question is whether it's going to work, whether it's going to take Arsenal to where they want to be. Arsenal fans, I think, are willing to be patient. The big question just is, will we get to where we feel Arsenal fans, paying some of the highest season ticket prices, one of the biggest, most successful clubs in England, but you could talk the world as well. That's where they're hoping it kind of leads to. Let's talk about the introduction of youth as well, because Saka and Smith Rowe have been, stars. Smith Rowe's added goals to his game. I think there was starting to become a little bit of criticism, saying very, very gifted, but we can't rely on Aubameyang and Lacazette. He started chipping in. Saka was last season as well. You then got Lokonga in there, who comes in alongside Partey, 21. I hadn't heard of him until the summer. Looks superb. This has been a big part as well. It's the process isn't just it all fitting in now. It's about it getting better over the next 5 years.
Yeah, and this season on average, Arsenal had the youngest starting 11 in the Premier League, which is not. Yeah. In some ways, it's not ideal because you kind of want to be in the mid to lower of that. Sure. Really, you don't want to be Watford with your team is very old. Yeah. Even Liverpool are creeping up. They've given new contracts to Van Dijk, Mane, a lot of players that either in or just about to get to 30. Arsenal, I guess, I'm trying to think of other teams that had good seasons with particularly young average age. Liverpool in 2013-14, actually, when they came so close, that they named loads of teenagers, obviously the likes of Sterling, and people
Jordan
like
that.
Jordan Ibe, a few games. Obviously some of the players that are still there now, like Henderson, were a lot younger as well.
Of course, very good point.
But obviously we saw, I guess, with that team that youth doesn't always, win out. But I do think, Arsenal have kind of really revamped their squad, and that was what was needed, really, wasn't it? You look at the end of the Wenger era and even start of Emery, the squad was disjointed. There were players, obviously Arsenal still have a couple of older statesmen, I guess, particularly up front, but it feels like, with the likes of Smith Rowe and Saka, that, as you say, they're adding goals. I think this season, or this year, Smith Rowe's got 7 goal involvements. I think only like 5 players got more than him. And they're players like Phil Foden and Mo Salah and stuff, who you'd expect to do that. So
and I think he's been ranking ahead of the likes of Mason Mount and players like that. So that's been a big thing as well. And it's great for him. He's now in the England squad. Obviously, depending when you're watching this, Smith Rowe was going to be making his debut for England, and as was Aaron Ramsdale. So good on them. I think that's another thing Arsenal fans will want to see, just a little bit more representation in the England team, because we're an English club and you'd want a few English players in there, and I think that's why Saka did so well for us at the Euros. But the youth has been a massive thing. I think what I really want to ask, because this has all been happy, things are looking great at Arsenal again, but there was still that difficult start. We still have had a really tricky 3 years, and people would argue even before that, there was always a lot of under-delivering on the season's expectations. My question, as we head into Liverpool away, Newcastle at home, United and Everton away, do you honestly believe that while Arsenal will probably drop points in that run, the kind of the point remains that Arsenal have turned a corner?
Yeah, I think the thing, Liverpool away is as hard as it gets sometimes. Although Brighton should have probably won there a few weeks ago. So and Arsenal aren't wildly different to Brighton in setup in some way. So that's a potential positive. But I think for me, Arsenal, it's probably more mental at this stage. If they did say they lost heavily at Liverpool, I think those next 3 games you mentioned, Newcastle aren't good. United at home are very much not good, and Everton also have lost. I think if they lose one more home game this year, it's the most they've ever lost in a calendar year at Goodison Park. So a lot of these places that seem like fortresses really aren't anymore. So I think if Arsenal did get beaten heavily at Liverpool, could they mentally just go, it's just one of those things, and then bounce back? But for me, one of the things that really stands out this season is how much you've improved at set plays and set pieces, because Arsenal were just, there was that stat a few years ago, hundreds of corners without a single sort of goal coming from them.
We were shocking attacking them and shocking defending them. You always felt whenever Stoke or Burnley or whoever got a set piece, you just think, oh my, here we go. It's definitely been a change. What do you put that down to? Obviously we got that I forgot his name, the Man City coach who came in. But yeah, from your perspective,
I mean, you kind of said it there, really. Like coaching, it's
right, yeah.
It's funny because you can kind of look at United at the moment, and they're not, I don't think, super, coaching set plays, and they're conceding quite a lot and not really looking that dangerous. And Arsenal recently got a goal from a corner in 4 games in a row, which is the first time that happened since 2008.
Yeah,
it's quite a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time.
And it sounds a bit. I think as some fans, particularly maybe some fans of Arsenal, who've got a certain kind of aesthetic way of looking at football, that set plays are this kind of like almost cheating way of playing football in a sense. But I think football's changed quite a lot now. Like, it's not like maybe you go back 15 years and you've got Arsenal, Barcelona, teams like that pass the ball, the old cliche, Arsenal just want to walk it in. And set plays are like, we don't really do that. And then you've got teams like your Stokes who can't really pass the ball, but will be deadly from long throws and corners and stuff. But I think that's changed now because you can do set plays in so many different ways. City are really good at them. We've seen West Ham this season. We saw what they did to Liverpool in the last match day. All the most successful teams now in world football are really, really good at set plays. It's not this kind of like we don't do that sort of thing. So that's been really encouraging from an Arsenal point of view to see them become much better, because all it is practice. I support Wycombe in League One, and we are famously not a tiki-taka team. Like very much so. Like most games under 40% possession, pass completion rate of like 55-60%. It's not aesthetically joyous, but we punch above our weight because essentially all the work that goes into set plays and in the phases of play and stuff like that. And I think we've moved a long way past the era of football where teams could just kind of collect 11 good players and go out there and do your best, lads.
I completely agree. I like to. Do you watch tennis?
I bet, yeah.
I liken it to an ace in tennis. If you've got a hammer of a serve and you can just get through your game comfortably. And I think that's when we're playing against Leicester. I mean, we're at the King Power. We've started well. We, in terms of territory, we're doing well. In terms of knocking the ball out possession, we're doing well. And we're getting a few crosses into the box, but they're defending them all right. A few moments, but they're kind of dealing with us. You hit them with a sucker punch for a set piece, and actually that's earned because you've earned the set piece. You've applied pressure. You've caused them, a bit of distress in their area, and you go 1-0 up. And I completely agree, especially when you've got players like Gabriel, Tomiyasu, Thomas Partey, Aubameyang. They've all got a bit of height to them. I know Aubameyang's not great in the air, doesn't score a lot of headers, but he's still a tall guy. And we are definitely looking a lot more of a threat from that area. And maybe we learn after what Brentford did to us, because I mean they were just such a handful, and have been all season as well from set pieces. Let's get your kind of final thoughts on Arsenal for the season. What you would classify a good season for Arsenal / what you're kind of expecting. Take it away.
Well, I think we've Stats for Form. We've got a prediction. Well, we've got lots of AI machines.
Oh, I love all this. Okay.
So one of the things is predictions, and we did it for the Euros. Basically, what you do is you simulate competition tens of thousands of times, and then you look at the results. And obviously, you run the Premier League based on form and strength and fixtures, blah, blah, blah. And maybe in one of those times, Arsenal win the league, right?
Yeah.
But then over 50,000, City probably will win the most. So that's how you can't judge it. So
okay, that's really interesting. I didn't know it worked like that. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, we've done it. We do an ongoing one for the Premier League, which updates after each goal, and so it literally is like in real time.
Wow. Okay.
As it stands, I think in terms of top four, the big three, if we want to call them at the moment, Chelsea, City, Liverpool, are sort of all in the sort of 80 or 90% to finish top four.
Wow.
So that's kind of...
Who's tipped to win it?
City at the moment, with Chelsea second and Liverpool third, which I think
that's about right. Yeah. I think that's about right. Okay.
But then we come to fourth place. And I think this is interesting because I think fourth place, because of, shall we say, certain issues at Old Trafford, I think it's really wide open this season. I think... United obviously could do it. They've got the players.
And
we don't know what's going to happen over the next few months. And I think the model, and I think I agree with it, puts the other two teams in with a realistic shout as Arsenal and West Ham. I mean, Brighton, I just think will fade a little bit, but they've been very good. But yeah, we have it currently on for that fourth place. I think United on 39%, West Ham on 24%, and Arsenal on 20%.
Wow. Okay.
So, as we said earlier, Arsenal don't tend to have great Novembers and Decembers, but I think it is quite crucial because I think if you can stay in touch by Christmas, I think there's a really good chance of fourth place. And I think that It's sad. I know that a lot of football fans are like, well, it's not, fourth place shouldn't be a thing, but in modern football it is a thing, and getting back into the Champions League would be transformative.
It'd be big for the club. It would definitely be a sign of progression. Dare I say, a lot of Arsenal fans won't like this. If we finish in the top 6, but we've significantly challenged for top 4, we've perhaps improved on our points tally, we've improved on our goals scored, you can see a direction, I think that's an acceptable season.
I think that would be acceptable. I think, and a bit like Leicester, say, a bit like, actually like Liverpool in 13-14, which we mentioned earlier, not having European football is quite a big opportunity. Like you have got this kind of like run at the Premier League, and I think you need to kind of make the most of that. So I'd agree. I'd say sort of top 6 would be decent. Top 4 is, I hate phrases like stretch goals, all that kind of stuff, but that is kind of, I think fourth place would be a really successful season because of not only what it would entail, but also what it could then mean for the future. Amazing.
Duncan, thank you so much for joining. I've really appreciated it. Guys, don't forget to comment on the video, get in touch, chat with us. Is this a turnaround for Arsenal? Numbers look good, and we're definitely seeing a process, come together. But Liverpool is a massive test, and obviously we're going to have all the content covering that in the coming days as well. Previews, match day, all that. Like and subscribe. Go check out The Analyst. That's your website, theanalyst.com.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's where Duncan's doing a lot of it. Some of the articles are fantastic. You want some of the raw numbers, XG. I mean, I was seeing Aubameyang's XG, or at least, what was it, expected shots, expected goals has gone up on last season massively, so he's looking more of a threat despite the big debate, has he improved, does he not? So you can go do all your research and all that as well. Check out Opta as well, and all the stats is always going around for that as well, for game to game. Thank you so much for joining. Duncan, thank you very much. We'll see you soon.